Today on r/PettyRevenge. I let him cheat so I can watch him fail. This was years ago, but it still brings a smile to face at times. Back in school, a handful of students, including myself, missed a major test due to extracurriculars. The teacher already arranged for us to take the test in a back room during regular class session. There was a guy, let's call him Eric, who was the typical F-boy who behaved like he was all that in a bag of chips. Rude, obnoxious, and didn't once talk to me until that hour in the testing room. Back in school, I was mostly quiet. If RBF was a thing back then, I would have been the poster child for it. I was known to be a bit nerdy, so it wasn't a surprise when he sat right next to me, chatting it up. He went on to tell me how I looked like I could be a Victoria's Secret model, and I was one of the prettiest girls in school, and blah 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 blah. He then asked if he could copy my answers. I smiled and said, "Sure, give me a few minutes and I'll show you my answer sheet." He grinned and twirled around in his seat, fidgeting with his pencil, making absolutely no effort in taking the test. I look up and whisper, "Done. Hurry up and copy." With no hesitation, he hurriedly copies my work. I told him to walk away first so it wouldn't be suspicious. He did. As he was leaving, he did a weird salute and laughed at the other students still taking the exam. As soon as that door shut, I erased the answers I gave him and filled in the correct answers. I turned my work in shortly after. The teacher said she would take a week to grade them. During that week, Eric didn't say hi to me at all. When he did look in my direction, he would elbow to his friend to laugh at me. I couldn't wait until he got his results. The day finally came. The teacher handed us back our graded tests, and the way he stood up shocked, shouting, "An F," and ran over to me to see my A grade, was chef's kiss. He definitely stopped laughing at me after that. For our next story. I and a friend crop dusted a table because they made our server cry. It was my friend's birthday and a group of us had planned to take him out to his favorite restaurant. When we get there, party of 8, we are sat near a smaller table full of dudes who fit the stereotype of dude bros. After roughly 5 minutes, we discovered that they were going to be a problem. They are pretty loud and rude, giving their server a hard time. Soon, our server came, and it was the same girl who was serving the rude table. She apologized for the wait and made a comment about how she had a lot on her plate. We tell her it's fine, and we understand. She takes our drink orders and gives us some more time to pick our food. A few more minutes go by and then we hear yelling. From what we gathered, one of the dudes wanted a drink, alcoholic, but didn't bring his ID. The server was doing her best to remain calm and keep control over the situation. He kept gesturing to his phone and we heard the server. "I'm sorry, but I can't accept a screenshot." Finally, one of his friends steps up and says he'll buy the drink for him. The server does her best to explain that he can't, it's illegal, and she could get in big trouble for it. Dude 2 then gets upset and now the whole table is in an uproar. Finally, the server says that she'll get her manager and quickly leaves in tears. The birthday boy is pissed and says he's going to say something. Lucky his girlfriend stops him. That's when another friend smirks and says I have a better idea. We'll call him Jack. Jack goes, "I have to fart." Being on the same wavelength, I smile and go, "So do I." "Jack, are we going to crop dust this table?" "Me, I think we are." The rude table is located in a way that you'd have to walk by them to get to the bathroom, and you can walk either to left or right of the table. Jack stands up first and makes his way to the bathroom. When he disappears around the corner, that's when the effects hit. At first the dudes think it's hilarious, pointing out one particular guy and placing the blame on him. He doesn't think it's so funny, and is steadily getting mad. That's when I step up. I make my way to the bathroom, passing on the opposite side of the table that Jack did. When I clear the corner, Jack is standing there with a crap-eating grin. We stand there and listen to the true chaos begin. The rude table doesn't find the second crop dusting as funny as the first one. They're now yelling and pointing fingers at one another. The icing on the cake is when the manager finally comes over. He tells them that they're being too loud and they're going to have to leave if they don't calm. They're pissed and then start complaining about their server. Jack and I can't see the manager's face, but he was quiet for a good minute before he starts talking again. He has to explain the law to them when it comes to alcohol, adding on that the table can't be served alcohol at all due to Dude 2's comment about buying it for someone else, since they can't confirm that the person who is going to drink it is 21. They're super pissed at that, but still stay. They get a new server who is a very buff man with a face that says F around and find out. They spend the rest of their time there with basically their heads down in shame. Let's dive into our next story. Super fussy home buyers lose out on valuable house supplies because they can't be polite. I just sold my parents' house. I cleared out everything and gave everything a good clean. It had a professional clean when I put it on the market and nobody was living in it since then. It's 2 days post-closing, and the new owners blew up the realtor's phone with all the garbage left behind, some crackpot rumors, complaints about some things not working, and the dryness of the yard, and some other baseless issues. First, the stuff left behind was house stuff. Extra hardwood, extra tile, extra light bulbs. The house has some fancy expensive lights. There was also the middle section of the dining room table, which stayed, and the custom paint colors for the interior, exterior, and trim. Everything was custom when my parents built, so the paint has the specific codes. The crackpot rumors were that I left garbage outside for 3 days and drove away saying I don't care. I was back and forth to place a lot clearing, cleaning, canned. Stuff I couldn't take or sell I put for free on the road, not garbage, and several days before closing I paid my neighbor to remove it with his trailer. I had said to him I don't care about this stuff, so if nobody takes it, don't worry about it and just take it to the dump and I'll pay for it. When I did my last inspection and cleaning 2 days before closing, nothing was in the driveway. All garbage had been removed. Anything not working had turned up in the home inspection and the buyers were well aware. Now they are trying to bill me. As for the dryness of the yard, we live in an arid semi-desert. There is not much I can do about it. The yard hadn't changed much between when it was listed and when it closed. Summers are hot here, weather has been in the high 30s Celsius, and there was a fire nearby. Even though I don't live nearby, 2 hours away, and have 3 kids, I offered to come help clear up some of their complaints. I made sure I took everything not explicitly stated in the contract. So I took all of the bulbs, tiles, extra flooring, and paint codes. No way in heck are they ever going to match properly. I also took a very expensive barbecue grill that was hooked up to the natural gas. It's a very nice grill, but my current residence doesn't have a natural gas hookup, and honestly I don't have much interest in barbecuing. But I know the new owners remarked on it, so I thought I'd be nice and leave it for them. The other thing that isn't explicitly stated was a large metal gazebo shading the back patio. It's the perfect size for back there. It was a pain for me to remove, so I thought the new owners would enjoy it, especially since the back patio, and enormous back windows, face west. In the summer it gets god-awful hot, and without that patio there, they will be sweating enough to fill a bathtub. On to the next story. Don't want to sell me a bagel? Bet. I went to a coffee shop with a friend about a year ago, and I wasn't too hungry but wanted a quick bite. It was early, and I don't eat too heavily in the morning, so when I approached the counter I ordered my coffee and a bagel with cream cheese. The barista told me the bagel was on the kids' menu, and therefore I couldn't order it. I asked for clarity and confirmed it was a regular-size bagel, and asked her, "So you'd rather I not order anything? The other options on the menu were full breakfast meals, skillets, etc., than give you business because of a silly rule." She gave me a very snide "Yep," so I laughed and said, "Ugh," and sat down. I explained to my friend what just transpired, and she said, "Nah, I have an idea." She proceeds to put in a DoorDash order for 1 bagel to be picked up. We keep an eye on the counter, and sure enough, I see the bagel ready to be picked up. I approach the counter, and ever so kindly ask for my DoorDash order for name. The same barista tosses the bagged bagel at me without saying a word and walks away. Very weird hill for them to unalive on, especially because bagels are such a common breakfast item, so it was odd to limit it to children, and I can understand wanting to sell the more expensive breakfast meals instead. But seriously? You're not going to sell me a bagel for what? I should have known the vibes were off the moment I walked in, and the entire coffee shop was that live, laugh, love barn door aesthetic too. Our last story for today. My act of petty revenge made them send me for a psych evaluation. I grew up in a really effed up situation. I was diagnosed autistic at a young age. I was adopted and considered a defective product and was treated badly consistently for being so damn weird. At 13, I was given some tests and put into special college courses. My mom beat me for thinking I was better than everyone, so I ran away from home at 14. By 16 I was caught and put in a group home. All the kids in my group home, there were several houses, 2 for boys and 1 for girls, all had to go to the same continuation school. The first day of class the principal addressed our homeroom and said, "I am here to teach you to speak on complete sentences and use words that have more than 2 syllables. I can't tell you how much that pissed me off. I wanted to tell them to F off. How could you just discount all these kids when you know nothing about them? Most of the kids in the class came from situations as bad as mine, or worse. It doesn't make us stupid. However, I was just tired of having to constantly advocate for myself, so I said F it, and decided to just act like a total airhead. For an entire quarter I asked the dumbest questions I could think of in class. I made stupid mistakes. I even talked like an airhead instead of my natural, more autistic diction, think Brennan from Bones. Honestly, it was fun and so much less pressure than trying to excel academically. Ironically, it also made me more popular with the boys. Anyhow, one day we got a creative writing assignment and I was just really inspired. I wrote a parable about a boy who lived in the jungle and befriended an alligator. It was basically an allegory about toxic relationships. I was called into the principal's office for plagiarism. They couldn't believe that I wrote it and wanted to know where I stole it from. I told them they assumed I was an idiot, so I've been acting like one. If they cared to look at any of my transcripts, they would know I'm not an idiot. They were pissed and thought I was psycho, so the group home made me meet with a psychologist for a day of testing. He said I had an IQ of 152 and borderline personality disorder. Later, the diagnosis was changed to autism and ADHD with CPTSD. Anyhow, I got to be the first group home kid in Redding, California to go to the public school in 1992. Edit. You guys have been so kind to me. I want to add something to my story. Years later, I was in a group called Leadership Redding. We were at a team-building camping trip talking about our experiences with Redding. I talked about being the first group home kid to go to public school. I shared about the outrage, how one teacher even introduced me as the group home kid everyone has been upset at. One of the guys in the group was a police officer. He admitted to be one of the people who wrote letters of outrage to the local newspaper. It really changed his heart when he saw how I turned out all those years later. At the time, I was in a leadership role at age 26 at the very same newspaper that had hosted all those angry letters to the editor. I have learned if you walk your life with life grace, integrity, and a determination to prove the mother effers wrong, you can have an amazing life. And those are all the stories we have for today. See you tomorrow.